The Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers and close more deals, reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusable isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusable.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. Find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours.
When you partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. Marks with Shawn Hackett. Shawn Hackett is with Hackett Financial out of Boca Raton, Florida, and he's nice enough to come on and talk about what's happening in commodities. Shawn, how you doing today, bud?
Pretty good, Casey. Really, really good. Back from vacation, and going to get fired up for the growing season. When there's always always a lot of volatility, and I expect this year to be no different. So,
yep. So let's talk a little bit about planning progress. I guess as we look around and see what's happened there, we saw some delays, and we've seen some delays throughout that. But for the most part, it feels like things are getting caught up. As you take a look at planning progress, Shawn, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I've never, planting is never going to get the markets going. It always gets done. I was never worried about planting getting done. Yes, there's been some rain and stuff, but overall, you look at the progress, we're actually a little ahead of schedule. Even 2019, the market couldn't react. And that was the worst planting season, the greatest flooding we've seen during the spring. I mean, you have to go back to 1993, and we couldn't get the market really going until mid-June. And so, you shouldn't get very excited about planting. It just gets planted. It always gets planted. And usually if there's a lot of moisture overall, it's more good than bad. So I just don't. I never thought the markets ever rallied because of planting. I don't think they ever do. I think it was more about South America, Russia, that sort of thing. I don't think it had anything to do with planting.
Yep. Yeah. There's never not been a time when the crop didn't get planted, so it always gets in there some.
So we're at the point
where
we're at the point where the crop's finishing up, and we have good subsoil moisture, the best in since 2019, and the crop's going to look fantastic in mid-June. It's hard to get the markets excited about that. They're going to talk about, oh, this looks like a record crop, record yield. I mean, we do this every year, Casey. Around this time,
Right.
we do have this situation with Russia that is, we haven't really seen something like this since 2011. If there's going to be something to go against that seasonal trend for weakness into mid-June, that would be what what I would expect to see as a potential driver. But other than that, I think it's just going to be kind of a quiet, sleepy time until we start getting a little further on into the growing season and start to see some of the heat that I expect to come in finally. In that late June into early August timeframe that we really haven't seen. You have to go back to 2011 and 2012. One thing I would mention, and I will mention, we have a very, very, very active tornado season this year. It's in the top, I think as of yesterday, I think we're in the top 6 percentile of activity of tornadoes for the spring. The only other year that was similar to this was 2011. Typically, very active tornadic seasons is indicative of a La Nina developing, and it's also indicative of a negative Pacific decadal oscillation, meaning you're getting an amplified upper airflow pattern where cold meets hot, and then right where they meet, that's where you get all the tornadic activity. But you have to go back to 2011, Casey, to see a tornadic season quite like this. What's very interesting, the last two yields on corn that were below, not just moderately below trend, like we've been seeing. I'm talking about 10% or more below trend. The last 2 years that we saw, that was 2011 and 2012. We know 2012 was a major drought, major crop problem. What I don't think a lot of people remember is that 2011 was actually not dry. It was we had moisture, but we had incredibly hot, warm nights, record nighttime temperatures. I think we broke a record for the number of record high nighttime temperatures during that growing season. I think it was 35 days that we had. If you're looking at, say, Iowa, we had record high nighttime temperatures. And what I don't think many people don't necessarily understand, there's two ways to really, really hurt yields. One is to have high daytime temperatures, which we've talked about a lot. The other is to have record high nighttime temperatures. That does, because if you have very, very warm, humid evenings, it doesn't allow corn and soybeans to rest. It doesn't allow for transpiration, and it significantly reduces the efficiency of yield formation. And we haven't had one of those since 2011. So I find it very interesting that we have a very similar tornadic season like we did for 2011, and all our teleconnections are saying it's going to be hot. I think what we could be looking at here, Casey, is a combination of 2012 and 2011. I mean, I think the western part of the grain belt could see very hot, dry temperatures like 2012. I think the eastern part of the grain belt could see very hot nighttime temperatures, but get those afternoon thunder showery type of activity that you typically see when you have humidity in the air. So I kind of feel like we're sort of in a, it's not going to be 11 or 12. It's going to be a combination of both significantly. Obviously, 2012, we had corn yields down almost 30% below trend. In 2011, I believe we were 15% below trend, substantially down and much worse than we've seen in the last 4 years. So I think that's what we're looking at, because we have very, very good subsoil moisture, Casey. Center East got to have a lot of rainfall. The subsoil moisture is filled up. And that's where you could have more of those that humidity building in, those warm nights. The West, I think, it still has the potential to be very dry, very hot, arid soils, flash droughts, that sort of thing. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't think it's going to be an all for one for all. I think it's going to be a combination of both. Either way, when you run that together, if that's in fact what happens, it would be a result substantially below the 3 to 5% below trend we've seen in corn and soybeans this past 4 years, which have been below trend, but not really what I'd call supply shocks. They've been supply disappointments, but in order to have a supply shock, I think you need to be down 10% or more. And, I think that combination would do that. Just as an example, if we were 10% below trend, assume let's just use a 180 trend line yield, that's 18 bushel to the acre below 180. So when I run that number, that's 162. You put a 162 yield on the corn crop. By the way, that's not like the worst result ever. Okay, but you put a 162 yield. I mean, we run out of corn. So I don't think 10% below trend line yield with what I've just mentioned as being a possibility of 2012 styled hot, dry weather to the west, more warm nights, humidity, afternoon showers, but more the warm night scenario in the east. I don't think a 10% below trend is an outlandish potential here, Casey. And that's kind of what I think could develop here. And the things that we always try to look for is, when will the atmosphere deliver on acting like a La Nina? When will we get those teleconnections that give us that potential for the high heat to come in either during the day or during the night? And we've talked about it. North Atlantic, hot sea surface temperatures. We want to see Southern Oscillation Index being over +5 on a 30-day moving average. We're at +3 right now, moving upward. We want to see global angular momentum, which is the differential between the Earth spin and the atmospheric spin, move into negative territory, which is a La Nina signature. That's a hot signature. All the models are, if you look at 2012, 2011, 1988, and you look at those, the pattern for global angular momentum, the month of May almost mimics those years perfectly, meaning we've had a strong surge in global angular momentum to positive, which is that last-ditch El Nino effect. And in all cases, then the global angular momentum nosedived into late June, creating the hot nights and the hot daytime temperatures. All the weather models out there are showing a strong dive after the 1st of June into negative territory. That's exactly what the pattern that we saw in 2011, 2012, 1988. So that's, these are the things we're going to be, watching for. We do have a negative Pacific Decadal Oscillation. That tends to be dry west, heat west. So we have the moon's Earth nutation cycle at its maximum wobble. Everything's in place, Casey, for a very different late June to early mid-August heat perspective than we've seen since 2011-12, the last 2 years that we really had major yields substantially below trend. And for right now, the good moisture, the tail end of El Nino providing good moisture for the spring and the planting getting done in a timely fashion is going to hold this market back through mid-June, at least is the way we see it right now, other than whatever the Russian drought scenario is able to do to juice wheat and bring corn and soybeans with it by their bootstraps.
Right on. So there's you kind of look around and see what's happening, even out where I'm at, where we had a lot of really bad drought issues. We've gotten back into shape. And if you look at the drought maps, I've been looking at drought maps here and all the places that were of concern, stuff we talked about early on, looking at subsoil maps and drought maps and those kind of things. Those are pretty well healed up. So we are definitely in a good spot, just like you talked about. Shawn, as you take a look at what's going on over in the cattle marketplace, what are your thoughts there? Still see some strong prices coming up there on the cattle side. So I guess as you look into that seasonal time that we're moving into, what are your thoughts there?
I still feel that there's not going to be enough demand to push prices out of this consolidation pattern we've been in. Supply's too tight to really break too far down below the sideways pattern that we've been in. Supply is going to dry up even further later in the year, and even if the demand stays on the weaker side, I think I feel we're going to move the market to the upside and have a big breakout of this. We have this kind of a wedge pattern, Casey, where you keep coiling the spring tighter and tighter and tighter until you get to the end of the cone. The end of that cone completes like mid-late summer, and I think we could see this market really break out and have another big leg to the upside here. There's just no supply. The supply's just not going to be there. And unless we have a catastrophic recession like in 08, 09 financial crisis or something, I mean, something really, COVID. I mean, if it's just a kind of a normal recession, I think demand will be strong enough to allow that to happen. But I do not see that possibility here this spring. I still feel, we need another few months of back and forth action before the supply dries up enough to where the current demand that we have for beef will drive the market substantially higher. That's the way I see it right now.
All right, Shawn. So you and I are planning on talking about it, doing a live session where we're going to talk about some of the stuff you've talked about here quite a bit on the weather side and really explaining through what that looks like. Shawn, as we get ready for that, we're trying to work on a day. I think we've got some stuff penciled in there, but looking at our calendars and kind of getting a hard date kind of planted there. But let's give the listeners a little bit of an idea of what we're going to hit on that. So, I mean, as you kind of look at this, we're going to go really into depth on some of the stuff that you've talked about here on the weather side. So I guess give the folks a little taste of what they might get when they tune in for that.
We're going to try to describe why climate always changes, right? It always is changing. And why we've seen such dramatic changes in weather over the last 1,000 years, from ice ages to, medieval warming periods where the glaciers were almost disappeared from the earth, and why that happens. What are the long-term cycles at work that create those swings in temperature, those swings in weather volatility? That's the long-term, the background stuff, right? Within that background, so think of it like an orchestra, right? You have all these instruments that are playing in the background, but then you'll have a soloist that'll play and do his thing, and it's a little more crisp, and but you still have the background music. So solar cycles, sea surface temperature cycles, Gleisberg cycles, these are the orchestra music in the background. The soloist are things like El Nino, La Nina, are things like global angular momentum, southern oscillation indexes, marine heat waves, these pockets of super hot sea surface temperatures that can create mini micro ecosystems of high and low pressure systems that can cause flooding and droughts, upper airflow pattern alterations. These are a Tonga event, right? I mean, these are the soloists that are playing within the background of the music. So whether it's a concerto, I'm not a classical music guy, but whether it's a concerto C or it's a concerto D, that's your background music. So we're going to go over what's the background and why we've been predicting for a long time an extended high-end weather volatility cycle that is already well underway. And within that framework, how we can take some of these solo variables, these solo teleconnections, and pinpoint where the risk points may be in a given year, in a particular region that would drive particular markets. So like the cocoa market last year, we had a particular weather anomaly in West Africa, for example. It created the greatest bull market in in the cocoa market since the 1970s to all-time highs, twice all-time highs, because of that unusual weather anomaly that was a soloist in this background of overall weather volatility. That's what we're going to try to discuss. And we get this question a lot, and I think you asked it to me earlier, Casey, about where does all this information come from? What can somebody? There's no Bible on this. There's no Webster. There's no encyclopedia on this, right? I mean, there's no place you can just read.
Right.
It's a whole lot of things. There's information comes sometimes on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, a yearly basis, from all kinds of different sources.
Right.
And so it's not. I wish it was just go to this website or read this book. There's no course on this. Maybe I should write a course on this, but I mean, there's no course on these natural climate cycle type of things. It's just something I have developed over decades of reading papers, studying these cycles, crunching the data, finding what's working, finding what's not working, throwing it in, running the correlation studies, and so that I can provide a kind of a finished product for the people that subscribe, to my service. And I'll try to provide information where some information comes from, but it's not a spectator sport. You have to continuously go find it, go get it, assimilate it. It's just not going to be handed to you, at least not yet. Maybe AI will be able to automate some of this stuff and create that, but for the most part, it's really it's a hodgepodge. If you want to talk about solar cycles, I mean, there is so much reading you could do on that topic alone, and from physicists to mathematicians to to climatologists. Just that subject alone, not to mention everything else that we talk about. So unfortunately, I can't. I don't want to avoid the answer, but the answer is that's the answer. It's the
Internet
information
of Things.
of things.
That's the answer.
That's right.
Yeah, right. So right now, as we look at the calendar here, I had it down here that June 11th at 6 o'clock Central is when we're going to do that. So we'll get that put out. We'll have a lot more information about that.
Yeah, and I'll try to have
pay attention. We'll talk about it as we
I think are easily digestible charts that I might be able to share. I think visuals sometimes will help a little bit with what we talk about, Casey, if we're able to do that.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be able to put up charts and all those kind of things, graphs, whatnot. Have all kinds of visuals that we'll be able to show that as well.
To me, this stuff is pretty complicated, and I think if we can put some pictorial, a picture's worth 1,000 words kind of thing to help bring some of these concepts together, I think the audience would get a lot more out of it, and I think they would be able to get their hands around understanding why this leads to this and why this leads to that, and how all this feeds into what we're dealing with right now. So,
right on. Okay. Well, Paige, I'll have more information about that. Just listen to the show here, and I'll keep promoting that, and we'll have it out there. But June 11th at 6 o'clock Central in the evening, not in the morning, we're going to have that talk with Shawn here. So pay attention to that. So Shawn, looking forward to that. If folks want to reach out to you and get more information in the meantime, what's the best way to do that?
At Faradex, it's F as in Frank, ERIDEX 11. We have a LinkedIn page. We have a website, Hackett, HACKETT, advisors.com. As a teaser, very general. We just did a Barchart article a few weeks ago that goes over, a very, surface discussion on some of these factors that might be a good thing for those that want to watch this thing that we're going to do to get themselves a little, some understanding of the basic concepts. And we're going to obviously go way far deeper than that, but at least that lays the initial surface groundwork for some of the stuff that we'll be talking about. That's a good starter for people to go to at least get themselves understanding the general genre of what we're going to be talking about. So,
right on. I'll link back to that Barchart article in the show notes for this show here, so folks can read that and get ready for that. So, Shawn, appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thanks. Bye.
We'll catch you again later this week. Right on. In case you've seen more with Moving Iron Podcast, check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. Go to LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast. check out the YouTube channel, which is at the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel, and go to Moving Iron LLC for everything Moving Iron related. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour, Shawn Hackett. Let's move smart, folks. Out.
Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers and close more deals, reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusable isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusable.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. You find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. Find out more at axontire.com. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron in the 21st century.